With the arrival of the Americans in 1898 came a new breed of architectural structures in the Philippines. The architecture then was dominated by American aesthetics. In this period, the plan for the modern city of Manila was designed with a large number of neoclassical architecture and Art Deco buildings by famous American and Filipino architects. For most of the American contributions to the country was the establishment of civil government. This led to the erection of government buildings from the city all the way to the municipal level. Designed in the most respectable manner, these government houses resembled Greek or Roman architecture. National Museum of Anthropology o Pambansang Museo ng Antropolohiya, formerly known as the Museum of the Filipino People o Museo ng Lahing Pilipino, is a component museum of the National Museum of the Philippines that houses the Anthropology and Archaeology divisions. The building is located in Agrifina Circle, Rizal Park, Manila, adjacent to the National Museum of Fine Arts building. The building formerly housed the Department of Finance building. It also houses the Wreck of San Diego, Ancient Artifacts, and Zoology divisions. One of the oldest foundations of the National Museum, the Anthropology Division traces its beginnings back to 1901. The division is consisted of three sections: archaeology, ethnography, and physical anthropology. The Anthropology Division had devoted practically half of its life in archaeological and ethnological studies and researches, focusing on the earliest man on Philippine grounds and prehistoric culture. Tragically, however, most of the records turned into ashes during World War II, leaving the division with nothing but vivid memories and recollections of past efforts. The National Museum of Anthropology houses various ethnographic artifacts from the different people of the country. The cultural materials featured in the exhibit include weapons, tools, musical instruments, clothing, and accessories among all others. The Archaeology Division of the National Museum is also located here where they display the various unearthed materials from different time periods. The museum conducts scientific researches on the people of the Philippines, including economic and ecological anthropology, ethnography or ethnology, linguistics, and paleoanthropology that support the research, development, and conservation in physical and natural sciences.
Although the dream plan was not fully implemented, some buildings for the proposed government center was constructed, including the old legislative buildings, now the National Museum of Fine Arts, and the Agricultural and Finance buildings, presently the National Museum of Anthropology and National Museum of Natural History. The Manila City Hall is located in the historic center of Ermita, Manila. It is where the Mayor of Manila holds office in the chamber of the Manila City Council. It was originally intended to be a part of National Government Center envisioned by Daniel Bernhardt in the 1930s. The Manila City Hall building sits on a trapezoidal shape of the lot between the Legislative and Post Office buildings. Due to the monotony of the building envelope, one cannot distinguish the principal facade from the main entrance properly. The south entrance has a balcony emphasized by three arches resting on Corinthian columns, while the north rear has the same design treatment with the east and west sides, but has pediments all throughout and a tall hexagonal clock tower capped by a dome. The clock tower, also designed by Antonio Toledo, which was completed during 1930s, is the largest clock tower in the Philippines, reaching close to 100 feet in elevation. It stands out during nighttime when the whole of the tower lights up. Every hour they rung the bell, 3 times continued by a melody. It has now become the icon for the city of Manila. The bell in the tower rings during break time of the employees and at the end of the working day. During the Christmas season, the tower plays Christmas carols heard outside the Manila City Hall. After the war, the City Hall was rebuilt through the War Reparations Program of the United States and was criticized due to the shape of its floor plan, which looked like a coffin or a shield of the Knights Templar. According to urban legends, it was made to look like a coffin to pay homage to those who died during the Battle of Manila. The City Hall houses the local government officials, including the mayor, vice mayor, city fiscal, city judge, and city councilors. It also houses different departments that provide services for the people. The building receives approximately 3,000 visitors a day.
El Hogar Filipino Building, also known simply as El Hogar, is an early skyscraper in Manila, Philippines. Built in 1914 and located at the corner of Juan Luna Street and Muelle de la Industria in the Binondo district. El Hogar Building was designed by Ramon Irureta Goyena and Francisco Perez Munoz in the Beaux Art style. Its architecture reflects the elements of neoclassical and Renaissance styles.
El Hogar Building was built as a wedding present of Antonio Melian y Pavia, third Count of Veracruz, to his bride Margarita Zobel de Ayala, who was a sister of Enrique Zobel de Ayala in 1940. During its heyday, El Hogar Building housed the Sociedad El Hogar Filipino, a financing cooperative founded by Melian and the offices of Smith Bell and Company. El Hogar Building is a representation of the architecture of business establishments of that era.
It survived World War II and a number of earthquakes and is one of the remaining American-era structures in the area facing the Pasig River. The value of the building is its architecture, which represents the American period design, materials, and construction methods. It also has a collective value as one of the significant structures within the historic Binondo district and Escolta Street.
Ano po palang pangalan niyo?
Edwin.
Edwin po.
Amanso Monare.
Amanos. Gano'n na po kayo matagal dito?
Dito sa
Sa ano po dito sa Manila? Pagpunta?
tagal na, 19 ano pa. 1970 po.
1972 po?
1988.
1988. Nabutan niyo po bang ano pa po itong building na po ito sa tabi po, sa likod niyo po?
Oo.
Ano po siguro naging ano niya po, gamit niya po or siguro ano?
Hospital ng hapon ito.
Hospital po.
Hindi, kasi dati terminal namin doon sa baba eh.
Ah,
Hospital ng hapon. Kasi igawa ng pan. Yung pangan ng tangatang paan. So ito, hospital ng hapon.
ba't po kaya hindi mo siya ginagamit ngayon?
Ha?
Ba't po hindi na ginagamit?
Wala na eh. Pagsaka.
Mga gano'n nakatagal po itong abandonado?
Hanggang 1982.
1982 po. Maraming salamat po. Sa tingin niyo po, kung hindi niyo po naabutan to, ano pong naging silbi siguro po nitong building?
Kasi tingnan naman nila yan. Kasi tingnan.
Sa tingin?
May shooting ng mga aksyon dyan sa taas, dito sa baba.
Sige po, salamat po.
The Luneta Hotel is a historical hotel in Manila, Philippines, named after its location from Luneta or Rizal Park in Calao Avenue in Manila City. It is one of the remaining structures that survived the liberation of Manila in 1942. The hotel was completed in 1990. According to D. Joseph Fernandez of the University of Santo Tomas, the hotel's designer is the Spanish architect engineer Salvador Fari. Luneta Hotel is one of Manila's most beautiful and historical structures built in 1918. Designed by the Spanish architect engineer Salvador Fari, The Belle Epoque structure was once described as reminiscent of French Renaissance architecture with Filipino-stylized beaux-arts. It used to be home to local politicians, celebrities, expats, and diplomats including former US President Dwight Eisenhower during its heyday. An important architecture of its time, its walls have kept many secrets, tragedies, triumphs, and stories of dalliances from its high-profile guests. The structure is the only remaining example of French Renaissance architecture with Filipino-stylized beaux-art in the Philippines today. The restored hotel retains its original facade including the French windows, fleur-de-lis wrought irons and gargoyles holding the ledge and guarding the penthouse. After being closed down and abandoned in the year 1987, the hotel was relaunched in May 2014 with the installation of a historical marker by the National Historical Commission of the Philippines. One of the hotel architects said that these gargoyles used to serve as drains during its early years. Like fountains, the gargoyles would spout water from their mouths when it rained back in the day. Legend has it also that the balconies used to have rubies and emeralds that when the sun's rays would hit them from Manila Bay, they made the hotel sparkle among the stone houses and storerooms surrounding it.
Manila Metropolitan Theater o Tanghalang Pangkalakhan ng Pilipino is a Filipino Art Deco building located near Manila Central Post Office. It was designed by architect Juan M. Arellano and was inaugurated on December 10, 1931.
It was in 1924, during the American colonial period, that the idea of constructing a theater in Manila came about. The construction began in 1930 under the supervision of the engineering firm Pedro Siochi and Company in an 8,239.58 square meter area of the park. This new theater housed different performances from zarzuelas, dramas to translations of foreign classics. It closed down its doors again in 1996 because of conflicts of ownership between the Manila City Administration and the Government Service Insurance System. In 2010, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and Manila Mayor Alfredo Lim tried to revive the theater but to no avail. The Metropolitan Theater facade resembles a stage being framed by a proscenium-like central window of stained glass which carries the name Metropolitan with flora and fauna motif surrounding the label. This helps bring in the light to the lobby. It was highlighted on both ends by the curving walls with colorful decorated tiles in resemblance with the batik patterns from Southeast Asia. There are also moldings of zigzag and wavy lines that go with the sponge and painted multicolored massive walls. The wall that framed the stained glass is a segmented arch with rows of finials on the upper edge of the wall.
The theater's walls and roofs were destroyed during World War II. During the post-war period, it was misused as a low-quality motel, a gay bar, a boxing arena, basketball court, and a home for squatters. In 1978, a restoration was initiated by the then governor of Metro Manila, Imelda Marcos.
There were different artists who collaborated in this project, especially inside the theater. Located at the main lobby were sculptures of Adam and Eve done by Francesco Ricardo Monti, who resided in Manila from 1930 up to his death in 1958. Isabella Tampico, a Filipino artist, designed the Philippine plant-themed carvings in the interior spaces including the lobby, while national artist Fernando Amorsolo painted the murals, the dance, and the history of music located at the ends of the balcony. The main auditorium projects a different character as compared to the building envelope's ornamentality. A sequence of gradually lowered arches made of local wood and has by-panels with colorful motifs. The theater, according to some people, has good acoustics and lighting and a large seating capacity of 1,670, which housed performances, operas, concerts, and plays for more than a decade.
pangalan niyo po?
Geronimo.
Geronimo.
Kuya, gaano po katagal nagtitinda dito? 10 years po. Ano po yung mga pagbabago na pansin niyo dito sa lugar?
Eh, itong Duterte administration na wala yung bayan. CR, playground, Garbin, nakasama sa iyo. Analis ang bayan kasi bunga lang ng corruption. Ang mga pagbabayad ng taong hindi naman dapat bayaran ay public. Kinukurap lang niya lagay sa pagka kaya pinag-pwede ang Duterte administration. Tapos naging malinis ang Luneta. Walang kanal, walang subaybayan ng mga yung mga alalay ni Director para mapangalagaan pa rin sa buong. Tapos tuloy magpapaayos ang mga ang galing ko po.
Thank you po. Sa TV na kami yan.
Opo, nasa TV na po.
Ano lang yan, di ba? Ano ba tawag yan?
School lang po.
Gaano po kayo katagal nagtinda ng panapel?
Ako, 3 months. Oo, 1995. 1995 pa raw.
Ano po napansin yung pagbabago sa Rizal Park po?
Marami. Nahabol kami ng mga guardia. Kasi bawal sa amin talaga.
Ay, bawal po.
Nakaw daw kami pwede.
Ay, maghanap po ay kami maayos.
Ano pong pangalan niyo po, sir?
Evelyn, Linda Tamayo.
Thank you po.
The National Museum of Natural History in Manila is a natural history museum in the Philippines. It is hosted inside the building formerly occupied by the Department of Tourism within Rizal Park near the Agrifina Circle. It is being operated by the National Museum of the Philippines. The building, now occupied by the museum, was built as the Agricultural and Commerce Building in 1940. The neoclassical building was designed by the Filipino architect Antonio Toledo during the late 1930s. The Agricultural and Commerce Building was left to ruins following the aftermath of the liberation of Manila during the World War II, but was later reconstructed to its original plans after the war. As you enter the museum, a giant helix called the Tree of Life will welcome you. It's an elevator from the ground floor to the 5th floor of the building attached to the ceiling to mimic a tree. It is said that the elevator is patterned after a Dine helix. The ceiling gives off the vibe of a tree canopy designed to make use of the light that enters the room. A fascinating collection showcasing the country's rich flora and fauna is displayed in the first museum in the Philippines dedicated to natural history. It includes more than 10 galleries on plants, animals, and fungi unique to the country.
Gaano kayo kadalas mamasyal dito?
Ay, actually, ano lang kami, wala kami. Kasi may ginawa kami sa national.
Sampung school.
Sample lang kami. So, anong masasabi niyo sa paligid dito?
Ay, grabe. Nakakaloka. Ibang-iba dati kasi nung nakakalimutan na noon, elemental. So, parang nasa buhay na siya. Tapos parang park talaga. Oo, park talaga siya. Gandang pa siya na. Pero, as time goes by, ewan ko, hindi ko naman nangyari. Ang kalat-kalat. Tapos, kanino biglang ibo.
Sige. Thank you!
Ano pong pangalan niyo natin?
Mary Rose.
Mary Rose. Thank you po.
The Manila Central Post Office is the central post office of the City of Manila, Philippines. It is the head office of the Philippine Postal Corporation and houses the country's main mail sorting distribution operations. The Manila Post Office was considered to be Juan Arellano's magnum opus. It was designed in the neoclassical style that expressed order and balance. It was built in 1926 and was worth 1 million pesos. Fronting the huge rectangular volume are the 16 ionic pillars that are lined up above the steps just before entering the lobby. It was designed by Juan Arellano and Tomas Mapua. The post office building was built in neoclassical architecture in 1926. The main body of the building is capped by a recessed rectangular attic story and flanked and buttressed by two semicircular wings. Inside, the main lobby has subsidiary halls and each house under the semicircular spaces roofed with domes. It was severely damaged in World War II and rebuilt in 1946, preserving most of its precious design. The location of the post office building in the Ermita district of the city east of Intramuros was part of the plan of Daniel Burnham for the city of Manila.
Its undulating balconies and iron grills mark it as belonging to the Art Nouveau style, making it Manila's first and last building style. The most striking feature of the building is the projecting turret on its northeastern corner. The rounded corner, emphasized by curving railings, gives the building the appearance of a French chateau. Rising from the eaves is a gabled roof with round clocks instead of windows. The building also features 8 distinctly designed baths and projecting balconies on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors.
Designed by the American architect Samuel Rowell in 1914, the Uy Chaco building is easily Manila's first skyscraper building and the best example of a building in Art Nouveau design. It survived war and neglect, and for over a century now, its eclectic turret served as the most prominent mark in the Plaza Cervantes area in the old business district in Binondo, Manila. The 5-story building designed by Benito Pedro featured the corner dome tower which originally had several trunks. The structure went on to become the district's most spectacular after the building.
The museum was subsequently transferred to the Department of Interior as the Bureau of Ethnological Survey after the passage of the Philippine Commission Act No. 841 in 1903. After the exposition, it was abolished as a separate bureau and was renamed the Philippine Museum.
The National Museum of the Philippines o Pambansang Museo ng Pilipinas is a government institution in the Philippines and serves as an educational, scientific, and cultural institution in preservation of the permanent national collections featuring the ethnological, anthropological, archaeological, and visual artistry of the Philippines.
The museum's role in cultural growth was recognized as contributing to government's desire for national development. The law designated the museum as the lead agency in the protection and preservation of the nation's cultural properties through the conduct of census, study, and declaration of such properties, and the monitoring and regulation of archaeological exploration, excavation, or diggings in historical or archaeological sites. With its new powers, it was able to strengthen its cultural mandate by declaring properties, structures, and sites of historical and cultural value to the nation. The educational mandate was strengthened because it was able to inform the public of the researches it conducted and through the acquisition and exhibition of archaeological finds.
The national government has been the regulatory enforcement agency of the national government in the restoring and safeguarding of important cultural properties, sites, and preservations throughout the Philippines since 1998. The museum began as an insular museum of ethnology, natural history, and commerce in 1901 under the Department of Public Instructions through the Philippine Commission Act No. 284.
The Philippine Legislature passed Act No. 4007 in 1933, abolishing the museum and appropriated its divisions to the following agencies: the Division of Fine Arts and History to the National Library, the Division of Ethnology went to the Bureau of Science, archaeology, ethnography, and physical anthropology, and the other sections of natural history of the Bureau of Science were organized into a Natural History Museum division.
Oh, ano yan? Ano yan?
Wait lang. 3, 2, 1.
Wow!
Parang ganun din siya.
Uy, magkano yung...
Although the tree plant was implemented,
Wow!
Manila's first skyscraper was built at that time and the National Museum of Fine Arts and the Agriculture and Finance buildings presented by the
Hotel was completed in 1990. According to me, built from the
Yes, it's one of the most designed by the American
After being closed down and abandoned in 1987, the hotel was relaunched in May 2012. We stop lang.
The National Museum of Natural History in Manila is Natural History.
Wow!
This hosted inside the building formerly occupied by the Department of Tourism within Rizal Park near the Agricultural Reserve. It is being operated by the
The building is located in Nagtitina Circle, Rizal Park, Manila. It is formerly adjacent to the National Museum of Fine Arts building. The building formerly
Sabi, ano yan?
ginagawa mo!
Go!
Opus Waters. In 1978, Manila's first skyscraper when it was built at the time and the most... Ano ba yun? Designed by the American architect Samuel Rowe. Samuel nga! Theater's walls and roofs were destroyed during World War II and during It's a Philippine art deck. Philippine! Dali! Yan na, pahang. Pahang naman sige.
Wow! Tayo pa din. Ay, maka-conscious siya. Wag mong anuhin.
Paano yun?
Naisipan ditong tumambay.
Ganda ka? Hindi ko alam.
Choose your fighter. No.